New features? New features? New features? New features? New features? New features? Of course they're new features. What do you think I've been doing for a year? This Miles wig kind of looks like a lunch lady. As all of us are now aware, there are new features out for Football Manager 21. They haven't been actually announced yet, but don't worry, we can confirm they exist because Football Manager released a 1-minute long video of gameplay, like the first look we've had into Football Manager 21 at all. That's wild because we're like halfway through October, but obviously the cycle is pushed back a bit. The game coming out the 24th, which is like the latest in recent memory, at least since I started to do this. The game coming out the 24th, the beta coming out 2 weeks early means we're a little less than a month away potentially from Football Manager hitting the virtual shelves. And this 1-minute video is essentially all that we have to go on. We've already been talking about it on stream. If you want to hang out with me there, we talk about Football Manager and a whole bunch of other things. It's right down in the description below. You click on the link that says Twitch, and that's where I'll be, or the other social media. There are some large takeaways that we've been able to gather, and I've gotten permission from Football Manager, because I'm a dutiful subject, to use this promotional video as part of our YouTube video, which is awesome. So hopefully their social media team is like in cahoots with their legal team so that this video is gonna be okay. So I'm not gonna play the audio just in case that's like copyrighted somewhere else. But we have permission to use the video, as you can see right there. It's right there. So we are going to full screen this bad boy and hit play, and we are going to point out all of the things you should have noticed. I've watched this video like 3,000 times already. All of the things you should have noticed from each frame of the game and what it means for potentially new features in Football Manager. Let's see where they start it with us. Your season starts here. Actually, it starts here. This is nothing. We still have nothing, so start building your squad. This is the first awesome piece of information. Well, this is not an awesome piece of information, actually. They've included the watermark that this is a work in progress throughout the alpha stage that it's in right now and the beta testing that happens for 2 weeks before the game when it goes out to everybody that's pre-ordered it. This could change, but it probably won't. I mean, they built the vast majority of the game already, and what I can tell you is that all of the panels on the left side, unlike this past year where more panels were added, and really the last couple of seasons, there's been a panel over here on the left side that's been added every year. There is no new panel on the left side. There are a lot of changes that have happened inside of those sections that we're going to get to at some point throughout the course of this minute-long video, but we can at least confirm in the alpha that there is no new panel on the left side and that everything we see here is easily recognizable and diagnosable. So let's hit play. Squad. Here we go. Now we're getting wild. We've gone into the squad and they've obviously zoomed it way in, hiding potentially other new features on the squad screen. But we see we at least have a different indicator next to our players. So this heart thing, those hearts, that is new. And the little thumbs up that is new too. We've been working with those dynamic arrows that you see in Football Manager 20. It looks like we don't have those anymore. We either have we actually don't get a thumbs down. We get a downward arrow. It's very, what are we doing? Give me a thumbs down. Turn it into a clock. Up here is good. Down here is terrible. And then wherever the thumb is, that's a different idea. We don't know what it looks like when it's not green. We didn't see any heart that wasn't green. I'm guessing that is the new way to display fitness, which would be really interesting because we've been working with those two concentric circles where you've got sharpness and your actual match fitness. And that heart is probably going to be an accurate representation of the sharpness and the fitness. Maybe they've combined them into one and say, if you don't have a good preseason, you're only getting up to like an orange heart or a yellow heart instead of a green heart. That's my guess at how the heart would be used, but obviously they didn't make it completely clear. But with the absence of the arrow and the absence of the circles in the squad view in lieu of the heart and the thumbs, it looks like they're going to try and make it even more abstract and maybe take us away from percentages altogether. So we've gone through 10 seconds. Aren't we flying? Find your targets. So we have Recruitment Meeting, which is new. This is a completely new thing. We can have a recruitment meeting. This is a very real life situation where you're able to sit down and go over who you potentially want. In this first frame, we analyze every frame here on the Zealand YouTube channel. Left wing back, our first choice in this role is do something, contract ends. So it looks like your general manager or director of football, or maybe if you don't have that, a chief scout will come to you and say, hey, these are positions we need on our agenda. The other one's deep lying forward. We lack depth for this role. So when you change the role, perhaps the input is going to change. So you'll be doing with this with your main tactic. Maybe if you switch your tactic halfway through the year, you'll be able to reset your recruitment meeting. It's probably something that you can pull up at any time. And it looks like you'll be able to tier the people you'll be looking for. My guess is this will tailor the way that scouting works. Scouting gets changed all the time in Football Manager. It always seems to have a new wrinkle in it every year. And my guess is this will tailor the way that your team is trying to scout, at least for first team players in the game. This will allow just a more specific focus. Click a position to add an agenda point. So you can add as many agenda points as you want. If you love to play director of football saves where you don't make the signings, this is a godsend. It's going to be a fun tool for someone like me and the vast majority of people that maybe like to take control of their own scouting, or at least don't want their director of football general manager signing all of their players, to use this to steer your recruitment philosophy and maybe even make it public as a way to get players to leave or accept sales. And I'd be willing to bet that this can factor in to player morale as well. Well, we lack depth at deep lying forward. The guy that thinks he's the depth at deep lying forward is probably not going to like that if you make that fact public. And so recruitment meetings, completely new feature. We're about to zoom in here quite fast, if I remember. And everything we see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's all in the game already. That is not. We can back channel with agents now. This is going to open up a whole can of unsettling worms that you think is good, but is actually probably bad, because that means other teams can back channel specifically with agents. You can ask the agent about the availability of the player. I'm assuming this is the sort of thing that could become public and probably won't, but it's like a news event if it does become public, and it's how trustworthy the agent is. How's your relationship with this agent? If you have a good relationship with the agent, this is probably a very useful tool. This is also something that is going to arm PSG with just another cannonball to ruin your Wonder Kid collection program in Ukraine, which there's a price to pay for reality, but there's a reason that Bate isn't winning the Champions League in the next decade, but I was able to do it in Football Manager 20 in 9 years because PSG couldn't back channel with the agent to lock me out of negotiating with the player. It seems that is now an option. Be fun to use though. If you're a good club, ask agent about availability. Now we're looking at the media. Finally, they've reworked the press conferences a little. I'm probably still not going to do them, but this is cool. You see all of the journalists there. You know where they're from, so you'll become familiar with particular journalists that are covering your team, especially if you're a smaller club, there's only 1 or 2 people there. It looks like it'll pop up with a question from one of these people. You'll be able to interact with them in a more personal way. I have long thought Football Manager's Unexplored Frontier is improving the interactions and making them more realistic with the media, with the players, with the chair of the board, making the experience of being an actual manager more realistic. Will the new signings start? Hey, at least that's a less wordy question. See, the Football Manager questions before, they kind of look like they were written and nobody would actually say them. It looks like they're at least trying to get around that. PreMatch Advice. So the PreMatch Advice screen, what we can tell here, we're breaking it down. The PreMatch Advice screen is different. They're going to come up with recommendations, reasons for them, and you can either agree or discard. I know those are the buttons. This is not completely unusual based off things we've gotten before, but it does look like it's going to be a much more UI-friendly screen that is going to help you break down your pre-match analysis instead of that, like, hit the check mark if you want it to change, and you've got this whole list of things. I mean, it's gross. Hi, boss. Did you want a word? You opened your arms widely towards the player, which appears to improve their body language. Well, I said they needed to overhaul interactions. One thing I didn't see coming was literally setting your body language for a meeting. That is hilarious. Adds a whole other layer. Some weird memes are going to come out of this, but you can set your body language going into a meeting with a player. Like, are you serious? I love it. I love it. I've been really pleased with your recent training performances, which is a typical response. But what I find interesting is these 3 dots right here. I think they've added texting to the game. or at least you can type your own answers. But my guess is that they've added texting to the game because they really want to do something with the social media and they can't add like tweeting because that's definitely going to cost a ton of money to get in the game. I think they've added texting to the game. More detail. Here's what everybody's freaking out about. Our expected goals are in the game. So the analytics screen has been super in-depth on Football Manager for years, and it does not get a lot of credit for that. I certainly haven't given it enough credit for existing. I've talked about it in 1 or 2 videos and not 5 or 10 about how you can break down the analytics to make your team better. But expected goals is the holy grail of analytics everywhere, and that's what's in the game. Expected goals. Everybody always came up with their own way of determining some sort of combination of shots, possession, clear, and half chances. You're their own system using all of that to determine whether they've been FM'd. Now we have expected goals. And for me, this will be how I judge my team's success, whether I'm being unlucky, whether I'm being lucky, whether I need to change something, or whether maybe we're struggling and I don't need to change something, because I know that my expected goals are higher than the other teams. We're just not actually putting them away. Time to go hold a recruitment meeting and set striker is the new thing we need to get because we just can't finish our lunch. Expected goals are in. Hip, hip. Hooray! So it looks like this is some sort of report, right? We do have a shot map, a very user-friendly shot map, and it's color-coded based off of the expected goals of the shot, which is fantastic. Looks like there's another shot map to the right. You have the heat maps, which of course I've been using. This does look like a screen you'll be able to go to, maybe one that comes through your inbox every match if you set up your staff responsibilities right, which is awesome and is going to be incredibly helpful because I feel like the analytical data people were getting in FM20 wasn't necessarily helping them as much, like where goals were scored and how goals were scored and those sorts of things that could sometimes provide no info at all. So dominate the touchline, make the calls that matter. And here we are in the actual match. It looks like they've changed the in-match overlay. And to me, this is the second biggest thing that we've seen so far is they've changed the in-match overlay. We've got all of the players down at the bottom. My heart theory has been confirmed that you see the fitness has gone down, and that's how you're measuring your fitness. We've got areas of control and attack up there. We have a substitution graphic coming in. I think you might have a menu pulled up right now, but they've definitely changed the overlay. They've changed the way it feels. They probably changed where all the panels are going to be able to pull up, and maybe what panels you're able to pull up as well if they're paying attention to the in-match overlay. So we've got our transfer, lead your team to glory. What can we see here? First thing, we've got a TV style scoreboard in the top left. I've been begging to add like TV production elements to help you feel like you're more a part of the experience, get you more engrossed in the story. We also have the tactic, full tactic, and maybe the instruction menu with this little arrow you see down here. Maybe an instruction menu that you can pull up with that. So obviously they've changed the overlay and you get a goal pop up, like a TV graphic goal pop. I seriously said they need to add more production elements, and they have. That's awesome. Moments to remember. Now, this is exactly the same as the thing you'd get at the end of a season typically, but that's neither here nor there. Football Manager out November 24th. Get 10% off if you buy it now. I actually still haven't bought it. I'm going to buy it eventually. Good for them. So that is all we know about Football Manager 21 now. As of this moment, me in this yellow shirt, this is all we know. Expected goals are here.